All right, everybody. Welcome to Soul Protocol, your headquarters for the inner revolution. I am Leah Eveit, and we are here today talking about going with the flow. Last week, we talked a little bit about the path, this spiritual place where we find our greatest expression, we find our greatest most expansive selves. And the really cool thing about the path is that it has its own energy. So when we step onto the path, it's more like stepping into it. It moves us as we go. You can think of it as like a moving walkway or maybe a river. And that's where we get the expression, go with the flow. But I think our cultural perspective on going with the flow sometimes confuses which flow we're supposed to be going with. I know I was confused about this for a long time. Assume I'm not the only one. I know a lot of my clients are confused about this. They start saying, well, if I just go with the flow, I'm going to get swept away by the wants and needs of everybody else. I have to plow forward so that I can get what I want out of life. I got to drive that hard line, the straight line to my objectives, my goals. There's no room for going with the flow when I'm driven and focused and I know exactly where I want to land. And it's not a bad argument. Actually, that energy of focus and drive is essential. But it comes best when it comes with purpose and when it comes with our own unique expression. So when we're talking about flow, we're talking about stepping into divine intention for our lives. We're talking about surrender. And the really wonderful thing about being on the path is that it takes no effort to be on the path. If you've ever heard of the term Wu Wei, it means non-forcing. Sometimes people state it as non-doing or non-striving, but I think that non-forcing is probably the best description, the best translation. Because living a life without forcing anything doesn't mean that we stop doing. It doesn't mean that we stop accomplishing. It doesn't mean we stop moving. It just means that we're moving with the energy of nature instead of against it. We're moving with the energy of our true nature, which is tremendously powerful. All of us have had moments of self-doubt. I guarantee that self-doubt was written into the narrative by an external source. Someone, somewhere, an advertisement, a parent or sibling or friend or an ex-lover told us that we weren't enough, and we believed them. They told us that we had no power, and we believed them. The revolution is about taking back that power that is only ours to take. It's about stepping into the flow of our own divine expression. And if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, I think I'm just too practical for this podcast, let me put it into terms that will make sense to those among us who might be more linear. Imagine the physics involved with getting into a kayak and floating down a river versus the physics involved with walking through the woods. Which one expends more energy? You can get to the same place both ways. But if you're on the river, there's a force that is taking you. Whereas if you insist on walking through the woods because you want to have control, you want to be in charge of the map, you're too afraid to surrender to the flow, you can do it. You can do it. But it's going to take a hell of a lot more effort. So this opportunity that we have to step into the flow of our true nature anytime we want to. I'm not saying that it's easy. It can be a huge leap of faith. And I'm not even recommending you do it all at once. There's a process to these things. And if you feel like you can do it all at once, safely, emotionally, physically, safely, go for it. But don't worry if you have to take it one baby step at a time. That's normal. That's how most of us do it. Okay? But it is always there for you. The river is always there. You may have navigated so far away from it that you can't see it. That's a real thing. But as we make minor adjustments in our navigation and we think like, all right, I'm going to listen for the river. I think it's coming from that direction. I'm just going to start moving in that direction. I don't really know where it is. I can't see it yet, but I'm just going to start moving in that direction. Right? This is how we navigate back to the river. So, yes, we are going with the flow. And yes, we're taking advantage of the energy that's available to just kind of whisk us along. And no, it's not that hard work. I mean, if we really want to work hard, we can walk through the forest. That's okay too. Like I said. In a culture that exalts high work, I'm sorry, did I say high? Hard work. That might be the way you want to go. Maybe the praise, the adoration is important enough to you that you'd like to do it the hard way. Well, by all means, do it the hard way. But if you decide you'd like to go with the flow, you've got to know which flow you're going with. And this brings me around to my point from the beginning of the podcast. There is the flow of our true nature. And then there's the flow of culture. And if we surrender to the flow of culture, we will get whisked away to some place that is so far from our true nature we won't even know where the hell we are. Okay, the flow of culture is the messaging that sounds like you should be doing this with your life. You should be pursuing these things. You won't be able to find a partner unless you're X, Y, and Z. You're not good enough until you're A, B, and C. Go chase those things that will make you good enough. Go chase those things that will make you worthy. Oh, and by the way, as you're chasing, we're going to keep moving the goalpost. So you're never actually going to arrive at the feeling that you thought you would have when you got the thing. We're just going to tell you that you're inadequate in some other way. The flow of culture will take you down that path of believing that these things are true. The flow of culture gives you no power, gives you no freedom. Why? Because you're being dictated to how you should live, what you should do, how you should think, what you should believe. Of course, there's no power in that. Of course, there's no joy in that. When we go with the flow of culture, we sacrifice all of our personal power. We're no longer making creative decisions about how we live day to day. We're no longer expressing our truest self. We're simply going with whatever somebody else tells us. You know, every day when I drop my kids off to school, the thing I tell them is, think your own thoughts, not other people's thoughts. And they're 8 and 9 now. I don't know for sure that they understand what that means. But God, I hope they hear it. And I hope that after I've said it a million times and tried to have this conversation with them a million times, which they have the patience for about 15 seconds of it on any given day. And, but I hope that after all of that, they will fully believe that they get to choose their own path in life. I hope that they fully subscribe to their own ideas, that they can think their own thoughts and not other people's thoughts. Now I'm going to wrap up by giving you 3 indicators that you might be living according to the flow of culture instead of the flow of your own true nature. The first, that you have difficulty answering the question, what do I want? Close your eyes and think about that for just a moment. What do I want? If you close your eyes and you hear the voice of your mother, your husband or wife, or there's a car commercial playing in your mind, you might be living at the whims of the flow of culture. It could be your family culture, it could be your community culture, it could be Western culture. But something outside yourself is dictating what you think you want. Indicator number 2, you make big life decisions logically. Now, on its face, this doesn't seem so bad. Right? What's wrong with a little logic? We all have to make decisions in consideration of our finances, in consideration of our time, in consideration of our values, in consideration of our resources, in consideration of the other people in our lives. Now, all of that is still true. And I'm not telling you to make reckless decisions. Our logical mind exists for a reason, but we're meant to employ it, to tell it when to start working and when to stop working. And when it comes to really big life decisions, here's what I know for sure. Big life decisions can be made in a moment. You already know the answer. It is the thing that your gut is screaming to you about. And you might try to find logical ways to circumvent it. It might not be the answer that you were hoping for. It might be socially, financially, logistically inconvenient. But you already know the answer. So much of the spiritual path is just learning to trust that. Now, I came to trust it after my logical decision making failed me entirely. So, to be honest, it was a relatively simple transition. It was like, okay, all of this logic got me to a place where my life fell apart. So now I have to do it a different way. And I recognized as well that had I been living more intuitively from the beginning, I would have found myself on a very different life path. Had I trusted my intuition a year, 2 years, or more earlier, I would have saved myself so much emotional agony. I didn't want to make the decision back then, even though I knew. And of course, the way that life works, it's always, nothing is wasted, right? Time isn't wasted. Energy isn't wasted. I made the decisions that I made linearly, that is logically, if A, then B, then C, right? In my case, it was get a degree, get married, professional job, have children, stay together forever and own a big house and a nice car and the American dream, right? Well, yeah, except that wasn't me. Not really. It never was me. It never was me. But in the way, the divine, perfect way of nature, nothing was wasted. I had many years of an incredible marriage. I had a ton of adventures during that time, all around the world. I have 2 beautiful, amazing children who I'm immensely grateful for. Every single day, I'm just astounded by the level of gratitude I feel for them. I have 14 years of a career that I built from scratch. This is my pre-life coaching career. From scratch, by myself, for myself. Right? Plowing forward toward a goal I thought I wanted. But along the way, how much did I learn? How much did I gain? Nothing is wasted. That being said, from now on, I want to live more intuitively. Not even from now on. From a few years ago on, intuition is my main navigational technique. And it works so well. So well. Life is so much easier this way. I can't even tell you. Well, I'm trying to tell you. But it's a leap of faith, and I know that can be hard to believe for some of us. Number 3 indicator that you might be living according to the flow of culture instead of the flow of your own true nature. Your body seems to be rebelling against something. If your metabolism is breaking down, if you are chronically tired, if you are experiencing persistent headaches, if you are experiencing persistent fatigue, right? It could be that you have a medical condition. So talk to your doctor. But it also could be that you have a spiritual condition called being dishonest with yourself. And I don't fully understand why, but any form of dishonesty makes me sick. And another way of saying that is I thrive physically when I'm on my path. That's not to say I never get a cold. It's not to say like I'm not, medical science still exists. But if you're in a place where you feel like you've exhausted all of your Western medicine options, maybe try a dose of authentic living. Just see what happens. It's not going to hurt you. You can keep doing whatever you've been doing, all of your medicine protocols, your exercising, make sure you get plenty of sleep, etc. And also, give your true nature a shot and just see what happens. Thank you so much for being here. I love you all tremendously. I am honored that I get to do this. This is me going out on a limb. This is episode 3. So thank you for your faith in me. Please like, follow, subscribe, leave me a review. You can also check out my website. That is evithq.com. And I will be actually putting together a masterclass that touches on the very subject we talked about today. So stay tuned for more information on that, because that'll be available, I would say, in the next few weeks. Love you all so much. Have a wonderful week. Mwah, 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 mwah.